Hello, and welcome to the Lawyer Translator YouTube page. My name is Matt Capelli, and I will be your host today. This video marks the first in a series of discussions we'll be having on corporate law, which eventually and necessarily will branch out into other related areas such as labor and employment, securities, mergers, acquisitions, fiduciary duties, agency law, among many others. I think it's important to begin with a more macro approach, looking at the field as a whole, and then focusing more on specifics. So, with that in mind, let's discuss entities. First up, the corporation. This video is designed to answer two fundamental questions. The first is, are corporation and corporación cognates? If not, question number two, then what's the difference? So, now to answer the first question, are corporation and corporación cognates? The short answer is no, they are not. If you have already read my piece titled Mastering Legal Translation, which you can find on my website, thelawyertranslator.com, then you already know that I divide civil and common law concepts into three different types. The first is freely adaptable, the second is quasi-adaptable, and the third is unadaptable. Freely adaptable legal concepts are exactly the same in both systems and employ an equivalent term. Quasi-adaptable means they are similar, but not similar enough to where there's an equivalent term in the source and target language. Unadaptable means that one system has a concept that is non-existent in the other, and we deal with these on a case-by-case basis. Now, freely adaptable concepts aren't necessarily cognates, but if two terms are perfect cognates, then they are most likely freely adaptable, such as terms like notary public and notario público. Now back to our example, corporation and corporación. They look like perfect cognates. After all, they end in tion and cion, which 99% of the time would scream perfect cognate. But this case falls square into the minority 1%, which means they are false cognates. Therefore, they are not the same. Well, so what's the difference then? Well, under U.S. law, each state has a statute that regulates the rights and obligations of each corporation organized in that state. One of the main characteristics of a corporation, as opposed to other types of legal entities, is that a corporation is regulated by state law, meaning it has legal duties, responsibilities, and formalities that must be satisfied before it can exist and so it can remain active. Other entities have these as well, but statute regulates them specifically for corporations. Mexican law does this exactly the same way, but slightly different. Instead, it regulates corporations on a federal level. Now, under Mexican law and in Spanish and legal Spanish, the term corporación has more of a broad and overarching meaning to denote any type of collective group of individuals, whether it be an organization or an association or a partnership. And based on my research, this is similar in other Central and South American countries where they speak Spanish. In Mexico's Código de Comercio, for example, which was first enacted in 1889, the word corporación appears only twice, and both times its connotation is broad and vague. And both uses weren't added to the code until over 100 years later, in 1996. In the Ley General de Sociedades Mercantiles, which was first enacted in 1934, corporación does not appear once. Now, when I was in law school in Mexico, I never once read or heard anyone use corporación. Instead, we learned about and discussed the Sociedad Anónima, which is regulated by the Ley General de Sociedades Mercantiles, and you guessed it, is the proper way to translate corporation. So there you have it. Corporation translates to Sociedad Anónima. In future videos, we will go into more detail on the corporation and Sociedad Anónima, starting with their organization and structure. There are a lot of key terms that differ depending on the type of entity, so it's important that we understand the differences between them and learn which term applies to which entity. So there you have it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you learned something. I hope to see you again. Please, if you have any comments or questions, leave them below the video or send me an email at matt@thelawyertranslator.com. Thanks again for watching. I hope to see you soon. Goodbye.